So good afternoon, everyone. Very excited to be here with you guys today. I actually was waiting a long time for this event to happen, and finally it's here. So I'm eager to share what is it that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. So I want to be talking about who we are, what's our journey, what we do, and how do we see this market moving forward in the years to come. So it all started with my partner and I. I'm actually one of the founding partners of Security Token Partners. We are a firm that helps companies project manage the issue of an STO end-to-end soup to nuts. I initially started as an angel investor many years ago. And even though I really enjoy my journey as an angel investor, there's a lot of limitations for people that invest in private placements. And mostly, as the previous speaker spoke about, is the fact that we invest in illiquid assets. And usually it takes between 5 to 7 years to have an exit, a liquidity event. And many people are not willing to wait that long. Some others are. But most importantly, when there's liquidity, there's actually a market. I actually had the pleasure of investing in ICOs last year. I invested in companies like Meta and Wabi, and they were very successful. My partner, Herwig, had actually experience in equity crowdfunding. He actually launched a platform called Invest Ready. It's a platform that verifies accredited investors throughout the US. Extremely important for the issuance of a security token, being that since we're talking about private placements, we need to make sure that these are going to be done in a compliant fashion, and that starts with making sure that the investors are actually accredited. He also was the founder of the Miami Venture Capital Association, which is an association that links the various VCs, hedge funds, and private equities in the Miami area with entrepreneurs so we can actually boost and make the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Miami thrive and become, hopefully, one day close, if not better than Silicon Valley. So what we realized really early on, I will say maybe 24 months ago, is that even though ICOs have been extremely interesting and there has been a lot of money being made, most of the ICOs out there, and let's keep it real, are actually offering the promise of a network effect in which, with that, the token or utility token will gain value. But the reality in most cases is just an empty promise. But what we realize is that by the issuance of these instruments, what we can really change is the way capital formation is being done, by doing it in a different and compliant way, but still offer one of the most important things that is going to disrupt this market, which is liquidity. So him and I joined forces and actually participated in one of the first security token offerings done in our area, in Miami, with a company that is actually a company that was venture-backed, highly successful, with strong financials, growing. It was in the biometric space. They actually used facial recognition to authenticate individuals. It was not willing to go to the Valley to raise capital. They wanted to actually do a worldwide raise. And we joined forces and decided to help them out doing this process via the issuance of a security token. And the company is called Keynote. This company actually allowed us to innovate and launch the first dual token offering of its kind in the US, and we believe also in the world, in which we actually launched a security token that granted access to the company. Actually, we offer equity in the company. And in addition to that, there was a utility token that was being used within the ecosystem that they were building. So the idea of the utility token is pretty much making sure that whenever someone does transactions peer-to-peer, they can actually authenticate and validate the transaction with the usage of their faces. This company launched their STO December last year, and the first week we got around $8 million of interest. And by week 3, it was like 30, and by week 8, it was like $1 billion of interest. And it was really a moment of awakening for us. And what we realized is that there's really an appetite for investors out there to participate in these private placements. It just happens to be that so far they have been all mostly liquid. But now with the promise of potentially getting access to secondary markets, as trading with others, there's definitely much more appetite to participate. So with this learning, I particularly had a moment of awakening, which is I had a very narrow thinking when it came to security tokens. And I actually thought that it was mostly an ability to raise capital via the issuance of either equity or debt. Again, very narrow thinking. But I realized that we can actually tokenize every single line in the P&L, in the balance sheet, or even in the statement of cash flows. It all depends upon how creative we are. So there's ways in which you can actually issue a token that is either a dividend payment token or a revenue sharing, or maybe you tokenize warrants in the company or IP rights. It all depends on how creative we are. And I'm actually going to touch upon these later on in the presentation with a couple of case studies and one that we're very, very excited moving forward. But in addition to that, it also changes the parameters in which these instruments are being issued. You can actually have a better governance, better investor relationships, and so on and so forth. I want to talk about one thing that it really excites me. When we talk about investment in traditional markets and, let's say, stocks, we're actually pretty reliant upon auditing companies to make sure that the financial statements that are being released are indeed accurate, fair, and representative of the financial health of the company. Imagine being able to bring a P&L into the blockchain using an API where you connect QuickBooks, and then they're fully transparent, and people can actually audit via the blockchain. The transactions that are being done are indeed the ones that are being reported. So if you do that, then, of course, the issuance of dividend payments or revenue sharing, it will be automatically triggered by a smart contract once the milestones in the P&L are being hit. So let's say if the company is aiming for a 10% net income, and that is actually the case, then immediately there's going to be a shareholder distribution or a dividend payment because that milestone was hit. And again, it will be fully transparent, and investors are going to be trusted because the entire P&L and accounting is actually in the balance sheet. That is actually something that is not really that far-fetched, and it could actually happen. And if that's the case, auditing companies or the auditing services as we know them are no longer going to be needed because we are going to be trusted that these transactions have been done in the blockchain, and as such, are immutable and intransferable. So after this experience, STP was born. We decided to kind of take what we were doing at the individual level and institutionalize ourselves and try to scale up and replicate the story that we had with Keynote over and over again. So between Herwig and myself, we have more than 20 years of experience in equity crowdfunding, fintech, and venture capital. We like to consider ourselves as thought leaders in the space, innovating in these type of issuances. I want to share with you a couple of case studies that we're working on as we speak. And finally, we actually try to make sure that we project manage these STOs end-to-end by bringing the right partners in the current ecosystem. And the reality is that what's going to make this market change, what's going to trigger this disruption in capital formation is going to be liquidity and secondary trading. And what we thought would have been exchanges coming about maybe towards the second half of this year or first quarter of next one is actually coming faster than what we thought. And the landscape as of now looks somehow like this. We broke it down in various verticals. You have issuers, treasury, exchanges, market makers, marketing agencies, legal and accounting, and so on and so forth. And all of that is being built as we speak. So it's extremely exciting. So for issuance, we like to partner with people like Securitize. For treasury and exchanges, right now we have a partnership with Open Finance. They're going to be one of the first security token exchanges offering secondary traded within this month. The usual suspects for liquidity providers are people like Circle and Octagon and Cumberland. In the case of PR, we love events like this. I think these are phenomenal events to showcase high-quality issuers. For legal, we work with the players that we consider thought leaders in the space, like Hola Ignite and Cooley and Gangster. Finally, we are actually associated with a brokerage firm here of New York called Phase One Capital, and we also have relationships with the different custodianship companies out there. So this actually is the ecosystem that allows us to do this end-to-end soup to nuts advisory service for our issuers. So now I'm going to walk you through 4 case studies that we're working on right now to kind of showcase all the various things that can be done with security tokens. The first one that I mentioned before was Keynote. Keynote is a company that is in the facial recognition space, biometrics, and they developed this solution that allows people to authenticate transactions in the blockchain using their face. The interesting thing about this case was the fact that for the first time, we were able to do a dual token offering in which one token was actually the one raising capital, offering equity in the company, thus the security token, and the other one was a utility that kind of was the engine of this ecosystem for facial recognition being used to authenticate transactions. The second one is one that we're also very excited about. It is actually hit home. This is a company that has the most comprehensive database of penitentiaries and prison inmates in the US and in the world. And pretty much what they do is they help connect families with inmates. And this database will be able to be monetized. This is a highly successful business. It's a company backed up by all the people that you can see in the bottom. And what we decided to do is innovate and, for the first time, create a revenue sharing token or a dividend payment token that will enable investors to get exposure to the highly profitable business that these businesses have. So we so far have an equity token, we have a revenue sharing token, and now we have this VC fund out of Spain called StarsBiz. They are actually in the celebrity licensing space, which is very unique, very niche, but very exciting. So what they do is they found out that a lot of manufacturers and retailers make a lot of money by linking their products to highly successful celebrities. So people like Antonio Banderas and Valeria Massa and the like really move brands and make and sell hundreds of millions of dollars a year by having their brand associated with these products. The issue is that these retailers usually don't have the cash flow to absorb the hefty fees that are being charged by these celebrities up front. So these funds comes in, and it's the bridge between these celebrities and these products. They fund them, and then once these products or these brands start performing, they actually enjoy and take part of the profits. And then last but not least, we're currently working with a soccer team. I'm a huge soccer fan out of Europe. And the interesting thing about this issuer is that we actually use a concept of convertible notes with certain triggers. So right now, this team is actually playing in Division B. If you're in Division B in any European team, there's a certain worth of how much the company, or team in this case, is actually valued at. This team is actually raising capital to improve their roster of players and also build a stadium, but they don't know if they're going to be able to go to Division A or they're going to stay in Division B. So what we did was we generated a convertible note in which if the team were to go to Division A, there was a certain valuation, and if the team were to stay in Division B, there was another valuation, of course, highly different from the previous one. And that is another case on how is it that we can play with these tokens and the concept of convertible notes. So we can be flexible in terms of what is the point of access for these investors. And last but not least, this is a case study in the making, one that we're very excited about. And I think we're excited about this because, again, I always thought about security tokens about just offering equity. But how about if we take a balance sheet and we just take the non-operating assets of a company, we strip them out from the balance sheet, we create an SPV, or a special purpose vehicle, and then we tokenize this SPV so investors can get exposure to the assets of the company and the assets of the company only, which means as an equity investor, you're actually exposed to both. You're actually exposed to the assets and the liabilities. But with this new concept, you could be able to potentially be exposed just to the most important component of a company's balance sheet. So we're working on this as we speak, and it's something that we're very excited about. And the benefits of this option are, first of all, you can monetize non-operating company assets, which is a big disruption in itself. It can be industry agnostic or sector agnostic. We can diversify by geography. You can diversify by risk. There could be some certain tax efficiencies. And of course, most importantly, no direct exposures to companies' liabilities. The reality is that I think this is just starting. It will be dependent upon how creative we all are in this industry. We're always trying to push the envelope and really innovate in terms of the product development that we bring to market. And we couldn't be more excited about having the opportunity to use these instruments to really re-engineer capital formation the way we know it. So with that, because of the fact that we need to do compliant offerings, this is a legal disclaimer. Hopefully you can read it. At least I show it, so I think I'm good to go. And of course, we are here in the booth, the first floor, ready to hear all of you guys partner up, issuers, investors, and the like. So it was a real pleasure. Thank you very much. I think I'm on time.